When I woke up after being reborn, I found myself back before the college entrance exams. After Ken confessed his feelings to me, my best friend Stella betrayed me. She tricked me into going to a karaoke place where a gang humiliated me. That night, awful pictures spread throughout the school. I was mentally broken and missed the college entrance exams, ruining my life. This time, Stella tried to trick me into going to a karaoke place again. Stella laughed, but I laughed too. What Stella didn't know was that the photos about to go viral were all of her. Before the college entrance exams, Ken confessed to me. "Jane, do you like me? I like you too. Help me study, I want to go to Cambridge with you." I glanced at Ken and coldly replied, "Sorry, I don't have time, and I don't want to go to Cambridge." Ken was shocked, given that I'd liked him for 2 years and never refused his requests. I was a top student. Last time, Ken used me as his study tool. His grades improved rapidly, saving him a lot on tutoring fees. After what happened to me, he was the one who insulted me the most. After graduation, he and my good friend Stella got into a prestigious university together. A guy who can be taken from you is no good from the start. Their lives are all about weighing pros and cons, selfishly. In this new life, that naive me is long gone. Stella came into the classroom and ran into Ken, leaving hastily. "Ken." Stella greeted him, her smile flirty. Ken didn't even look at her and walked right past. Feeling snubbed, Stella frowned but quickly adjusted her expression. She came over, affectionately linking arms with me. "Ken came to see you?" I nodded. "Yeah, he confessed, said he liked me." Stella's shock overshadowed the jealousy in her eyes. "Jane, don't agree to it. Ken is wild and flirty. You can't trust a guy like that. What's the point of a boyfriend when you've got me as a bestie?" Stella whined, shaking my arm. Last time, she had this harmless look too. Back then, I didn't know my heart was wasted on a jerk and that my friend was envious and hurtful. Our class was a repeat class. I retook it because I didn't do well. The only reason I came to third high school was that they offered me a scholarship when I decided to retake the exam. Stella was retaking because she believed only a better college could elevate her status. Her ultimate dream was to marry into wealth. Back then, she had a boyfriend, Jack, from another school. But she always said she didn't like Jack, preferring Ken from third high school. Seeing Ken flaunt his branded shoes and stylish clothes, Stella assumed his family was well off due to school rumors. So at graduation, she ditched Jack and happily went to college holding Ken's hand. Jack, who didn't do well in the entrance exams, went abroad. A few years later, he returned to manage the family business. Nobody expected the careless guy to be the son of Boston's wealthiest man. After college, Stella found out Ken's family was dirt poor and dumped him immediately. She then returned to Jack, pretending to be his true love. True love? Wealth? This time, I will shatter Stella's dreams early. A few days later, I got a message from Jack. "Jane, can you do me a favor? I want to surprise Stella tomorrow." My senior year felt dull and repetitive. Stella did well on her practice exams this time. To cheer her up, Jack planned a party in his rented apartment for her. Stella often mocked Jack's poverty in front of me. She said Jack wasn't her type, but she had to stay with him because of his status. Since that's the case, I decided to help her in this new life. On Friday, no evening classes meant I could head straight to Jack's apartment after the last lecture. The living room was filled with 2 boxes of decorations. Even the heart-shaped balloons were Stella's favorite purple. While not expensive, Jack had clearly put thought into it. When I arrived, Jack was inflating balloons. He was tall and handsome, dressed in ordinary clothes. Back in school, it was hard to see him as a rich heir. When Jack turned to look at me, his rogue face showed a hint of shyness. "Sorry, if my buddies knew I was doing this, they'd mock me forever. So I hope you don't mind helping me." I chuckled, This didn't seem like something Jack would do. Last time, I didn't have much interaction with Jack. Stella painted him as such a villain that I assumed he was terrible. Even when asked for help, I refused. Meeting him today, he didn't seem as terrifying as rumors claimed. While we blew up balloons, Jack casually chatted with me. I asked why he liked Stella. He thought about it and said earnestly, "I like her kindness." His eyes sparkled as he spoke. I nearly choked on my laugh. Kindness? Hilarious. I felt for something in my pocket, knowing I had to act soon. "You got anything to drink?" Jack pulled out 2 beers from the fridge. "I don't have water." "Is this okay?" I shrugged, taking a swig. Taking advantage of Jack's bathroom break, I slipped the prepared substance into his beer. Once we finished decorating, Jack dozed off on the couch, feeling dizzy. Jack. Jack. I called him twice, but he didn't stir. So I quickly removed his jacket, loosened his belt, and tore my clothes, messing up my hair, and bruising my body. I tossed the beer can Jack drank into the trash, and poured out several bottles into the sink, leaving the empties. I mixed lotus powder into some tissue balls and scattered them near Jack. Having prepped everything, I punched my nose, letting blood run down, smearing it all over. Then, with my phone, nearly dead, I messaged Stella. "Stella. Save me. I'm at Jack's apartment. Come quick." After sending it, I powered off my phone. When Stella arrived, I was trembling in the corner of the living room while Jack slept on. Surveying the scene, she probably had a guess. "Jane, what happened?" With a choked voice, tears streaming, I said. "Stella, Jack wanted me to date him, in secret from you." I refused, he. Overcome with dread, devastated. Stella's face turned pale with rage. Even though Jack was a dog to her now. No one enjoys being betrayed by their lapdog. I grabbed Stella's hands suddenly, crying even harder. "Stella," Jack threw my phone away. "Please, help me report it to the police." As I expected, Stella didn't want to call the cops. She held my trembling body. "Jane, we can't report this. It's not about fearing Jack's revenge, but your reputation matters more. I'm your best friend, I'd never harm you. Just listen to me, don't call the police. I'll break up with Jack and make him take responsibility." I stared blankly at Stella and nodded. "All right, I'll do as you say." "That's right," she said. "Men are no good, girlfriends are the real deal." The news of me and Jack spread throughout the school overnight. Everyone was calling me evil, saying that as Stella's best friend, I betrayed her. I just laughed it off because I was the one who spread the rumors. The day after Stella broke up with Jack, she got together with Ken. Just like last time, Ken had some harsh words for me. Stella pretended to tell him to stop but looked really happy. On the 3rd day after her breakup with Jack, rumors started swirling around the school that Jack was the son of Boston's richest man. Someone even dug up a family photo of him with the tycoon, Mark. And the stuff between Jack and me became even hotter news because of his newfound status. Yes, I started those rumors too. "Stella, your ex-Jack is really the son of Boston's richest guy, Mark?" asked a nosy classmate. Stella didn't look good hearing this. She quickly deleted her relationship post with Ken because if the rumors were true, this was her best shot at marrying into a wealthy family. But now she had completely split with Jack. She had badmouthed Jack terribly, emphasizing one thing, that she couldn't accept a boyfriend and her best friend betraying her. After snapping at him, she erased all contact with Jack. Jack tried to contact her at first, but when he saw her with Ken, he stopped. Suddenly, Stella sidled up to me and said softly, "Jane, did you know Jack's identity all along?" I gave her an innocent look. I had no idea. I just heard about it today. She finally realized it, a part of my plan. Watching Stella in discomfort was sweet. A few days later, I got a message from Jack. "Jane, when are you free? Can we talk?" To keep things low-key, Jack arranged to meet at a distant cafe. But I'd already tipped off the local bloggers. They loved juicy stories about rich kids. Jack showed up in his favorite gray jacket, covered in stars. I glanced at my own new jacket, gray, with a moon on the back. Yep, I did that on purpose to look like we matched. I hadn't washed my hair, aiming for a disheveled look, and made sure to make my eyes red by staring hard. I sat across from Jack, staying silent, while he looked at me, fumbling for words. Finally, he broke the silence. "What do you want to drink?" "Just water." Yet, he ordered me a milk tea. Jane, my memory of that night is hazy, but not from just a few beers. I wouldn't lose control like that. Now, with my concealed identity out, I wonder if someone did it deliberately. I heard his deep breath before he spoke, hinting at his internal struggle to say it. I clenched the milk teacup tighter, forcing out tears. "Jack, what are you implying?" Seeing me cry, Jack looked flustered. At that moment, he was just an innocent kid. "Don't cry, I just think maybe someone used you." I jumped up. "Jack. This affects my reputation, and Stella is my best friend. Why would I do such a thing? Are you blaming me to clear your own name? Fine, let's just report it." I threw that at him and stormed out. I saw Jack chase after me from the corner of my eye. He reached out, blocked my way. "Jane, don't go." I'm clumsy with words, that's not what I meant. I cried dramatically, while camera shutters clicked rapidly from afar. From this angle, it must look like Jack was holding me, right? Perfect. I didn't pay attention to Jack's follow-up, just stood there sobbing, purposely dragging it out. Soon after, Stella appeared in the street ahead with Ken right behind. "Jane, I can give you money. How much do you want?" I wiped my tears, shook my head. "I don't want money. For my reputation, I don't want to discuss this anymore." Just as I finished, Stella and Ken walked up to us. "Jane?" Jack turned at her voice. When he saw Ken, his temper flared, and he lunged at Ken, pounding away. Stella smiled slyly at me. "Forget them. Just some petty guys, let's go. My brother's having a party at Candy KTV tonight. Come along and unwind." KTV? Here it is. Stella was about to try and ruin me. In my past life, it was at Candy KTV where she destroyed everything. Back then, I thought Stella was amazing. She did okay academically and had lots of friends. But many of her friends were shady. During my bullying days, Stella took a hit for me. After that, I devoted myself to her, tutoring her, covering for her, even using my scholarship to pay her debts. No matter what she did outside, she was my best friend. Jack once wanted to know about Stella's shady friends. I lied to cover for her, insisting it was all rumors. Recently, besides studying hard for exams, I've been keeping tabs on Stella and her shady friends. I saved up, scrimped on expenses, withdrew all my scholarship money. Those people were never Stella's true friends. They were friends with whoever had money. Following my memories of the past, I found the leader from that night and became buddies with him with a bag full of cash. As soon as we entered Candy KTV, Stella's demeanor changed. She let go of my hand and pushed me hard. I stumbled, falling awkwardly. "Jane, I always thought you were just a nerd. Turns out I underestimated you." I got up, mixing fear with innocence on my face. "Stella, what are you talking about? Did you misunderstand something? I don't get it." Stella crossed her arms, a malicious smile on her face. "Jane, who do you think you're fooling? Just because Ken likes me, you're going after Jack." I'm about to cry, shaking my head desperately, saying I didn't do anything. "Doesn't really matter anymore, does it?" Stella scoffed, stopped looking at me, and instead gave a fawning look towards the guy next to her. Matt, I'm leaving this chick here, feel free to do whatever, just don't overdo it. Stella chatted with the guy beside her like they were old pals. Matt looked me up and down, his face showing a nasty grin. I got scared, backed away, trying to find a chance to slip out. But as soon as I opened the door, a guy held it shut and pulled me back in. Hey girl, don't be afraid. Since you're Stella's pal, we'll take good care of you. The guy tossed me on the couch. In the struggle, my collar was pulled down, exposing half my shoulder. Please, let me go. Stella. Why are you doing this to me? Matt pushed my head down onto the table. Shut up. I was too scared to move. Matt ignored me and turned to Stella. Stella, isn't your boyfriend the son of Boston's wealthiest guy? You owe us money, shouldn't that be repaid by now? Stella's face darkened even more. She clenched her fists but said nothing. Stella, that little film you shot sold pretty well. If push comes to shove, we can just shoot another one. Stella gritted her teeth, trying to hold back her anger. She pointed at me fiercely. If it weren't for her, Jack would have already helped me pay off the debt. Don't worry, Matt, Jack is one of my suitors. He'll come crawling back to me as soon as I beckon. Give me a few days, and I'll pay you back with interest. In my past life, I knew she owed tons of online loans. But back then, she told me her mom had cancer. Watching the tearful Stella, I gave her all my scholarship money, going so far as to scrimp on living expenses for her. In this life, I realized her mom wasn't sick at all and was in great health. The loans were taken because of her vanity. To buy fancy clothes, bags, and shoes. At first, she managed to pay off some of it with her living allowance. But the debt just snowballed, and she couldn't keep up. Matt grabbed me, forced a drink down my throat. I got so woozy, I passed out on the sofa in that karaoke room. Matt, I'm off. Have fun. It was Stella's voice, followed by the door closing. Stella left. Matt hauled me up as two other guys helped drag me out of the karaoke joint. On the taxi ride, my eyes shot open suddenly. Matt pulled out his phone, showed me his PayPal payment QR code. He took the money and got off right away. I didn't go back to school, I headed straight for home. In the past life, after leaving that candy karaoke, I had a breakdown. On my way home, I jumped into a river to end it all, saved only by a passing taxi driver. By the time my mom came for me, I was already lying on a hospital bed. Shameful photos of me were spread to every teacher and student at school, and found their way to my parents' phones too. I missed my college entrance exams and got seriously depressed. My mom tried to get justice for me but got hit by online backlash. She's all dolled up while her daughter's in trouble, clearly she's just putting on a show. I bet they're both no good. Her daughter wasn't raised right, so she brings trouble to the school. Seeing me get worse every day. Mom went around seeking help in vain, until she finally jumped from a building. Dad's hair turned white overnight. He cried by my hospital bed. Sweet daughter, hurry up and get well. Stella didn't only ruin my life, she wrecked my family. But she went about her life as if nothing happened. Going to college happily. Finding work easily. And even fulfilling her dream of marrying into a wealthy family. Monster. She doesn't deserve any of that. To focus on my studies, I've been living on campus, only going home once a month. This time, I got home a bit late. And when my parents saw me come home so suddenly, they were surprised and delighted. Dad quickly got up and went to the kitchen, smiling wide while washing some fruit for me. Mom was really happy to see me, too. But she got worried when she noticed my clothes and hair were a bit messy. Jane, why were you back all of a sudden? Did something happen at school? I shook my head, nothing much, just missed you guys. In my past life, I'd always thought she was nagging, she was weak, she wasn't tough enough. But Mom fiercely protected me in her own way. Snuggling into Mom's arms, I felt indescribably happy. Mom's still alive, Dad didn't go gray overnight. That's just awesome. I asked Mom to take 2 days off from school for me. During those 2 days, photos of Jack and me meeting at a cafe spread all over the local media. The photos used angles that made it look like Jack was comforting me. I spent 2 days with Mom and Dad, and only returned to school just before the 3rd day's evening study session. When I got back to my dorm, it was empty. Everyone else was already hustling at the library. I was just unpacking my clothes when there was a knock at the door. It wasn't locked, and before I could respond, the door swung open. It was Stella. She swaggered in, scoffing. "Jane, where have you been these past couple of days?" I turned to glance at her, my eyes welling with tears. I ignored her, and she got bolder, rushing right up to me. Stella pulled out her phone, shoved it in my face, forcing me to look. The screen was playing those awful photos on loop. The faces in them were blurred with thick mosaics. "Jane, did you really think Jack's into you? He's just toying with you." "That's right, seems the tabloid stories made some impact." "I don't care if you already knew about Jack's background and meddled with us on purpose. I've got news for you, he's crawling back, asking for a second chance. Oh, and, about the other day, I'm warning you, don't go to the cops, or these pictures go to everyone, including your parents and Jack." I turned away, feeling annoyed, with emotions simmering beneath. I was shaking because I was holding something in. Stella thought I was crying. Actually, I was just trying not to burst into laughter. "Jane, regretting now? Why didn't you think of that before? I'll tell you what, fork over $4,000, and these snapshots are yours." Stella was eyeing my scholarship. She knew I had a $4,000 scholarship. In my previous life, she pretended her mom had cancer and scammed me out of my scholarship. This time around, she's dropped all pretenses and straight up resorted to extortion. Looks like she still owes Matt. I'm not calling the cops, and I won't see Jack again, but my family's situation isn't great and the scholarship is gone. I answered Stella calmly and coolly. Stella had a look of surprise. Most people would either be scrambling for cash or begging by now. Instead, she stormed off, kicking a table on the way out. I wasn't lying, the scholarship money was gone, I had used it to buy off Matt. Stella thought the censored photos Matt sent were mine, but they were all hers. Last time, she had Matt send my photos around the entire school. In this life, she got my photos with Matt having censored them. What happens next is up to Stella. Good deeds bring good outcomes. Bad deeds bring bad consequences. Since Stella thought she had something on me, she started bullying me at school. "Jane, go downstairs and buy me a bottle of water." "Why did you get the cheap one?" "I want the most expensive brand, go back." "Jane, get me lunch." "I want a rice bowl." "What's this you bought?" "Go get me another one." "Jane, it's my turn to do cleaning today. Remember to wipe the windows." Stella had me running around while everyone saw me as her lackey. People figured this was my payback for betraying my best friend. My roomies couldn't stand it and tried to stand up for me, but I held them back. I also learned why she slapped me back then. "Jane, you're such a fool. Remember the first day I came to your class to retake the year?" Yeah, I remembered. That day, some lowlifes cornered me outside school. Stella showed up, saved me, and even took a hit for me. From that day on, our friendship developed. "I sent those guys to block you." "What?" That caught me off guard. Even in my last life, I didn't know. I wanted a free tutor. The top student like you was perfect. Now I'm up to speed with my studies. Getting into Cambridge won't be an issue. You're still better suited for being bullied, aren't you? Everything was part of her plan, even helping me back then. I clenched my fists, afraid I might lash out at her face. Stella seemed to read my thoughts. What's wrong, Jane? Wanna hit me? Remember, I have your photos. I acted sheepish, relaxed my fists, and walked away. Pride before a fall. Stella, enjoy your moment. Jack really did circle back to her. He showered her with gifts, designer bags, clothes, and shoes she loved. Stella often walked into the dorm building with boxes big and small. Jack told her he wasn't hiding his identity on purpose. He just didn't tell her because he was an illegitimate child in a wealthy family. Stella hugged Jack's gifts daily but was dragging her feet with the relationship. My guess? She wanted to stay on the hook for more goodies. While playing Stella's tool, I quietly gathered evidence. Ridiculous, right? Jane tutoring Stella? Did something so shady it needs fixing? Good riddance. What about Stella? Jane, how can you stomach this? Despite school rumors, I kept my head down and studied hard. I missed college exams last time, but I won't mess it up this time. During this, Stella, floating in Jack's bubble of vanity, started slipping in her studies. I used to lay out key review points for her last time. Now? If she doesn't ask, I won't volunteer key concepts. Jack saw her constantly, and when he gave her a bag worth $100 grand, she was over the moon and agreed to get back together. With regional exams approaching, Stella seemed to catch wind of something. Rumor had it, placing first in the exams meant guaranteed admission. With the exams days away, Stella's grades wouldn't cut it for first place, not by a long shot. Pretty soon, her target was me. According to previous rankings, Stella would sit left and behind me. Jane, you study so well. You'll be first, right? I shook my head. This is a regional exam, not just school. I don't care. During this exam, let me see your answers. And when you're done, change a few of your correct answers to wrong ones. Stella, cocky as anything, assumed I'd nab first and hand it to her. I timidly nodded. I'll share my answers, but I'm not sure about coming first. And what if you win, get the spot? What about Jack? She thought I still carried a torch for Jack. Jane, don't go for Jack. I knew why she wanted that spot so bad. A family like Jack's, she's out of her league. She wanted a top university as a bargaining chip. On exam day, I deliberately bombed the test. When Stella got her results, she lost it in class, knocking over my desk in front of Jack. Jane, you did this on purpose. I cowered. No, I didn't. I scored worse than her. The class rep couldn't just watch, so he stepped in. He helped me gather my things and caught a glimpse of my depression report. A few names from a Boston hospital stood out on the papers, along with my prescriptions. So that's why I flunked, there was the reason. Stella, I didn't do it on purpose. I've been sick. Suddenly, many classmates looked at me with pity. Of course, some found it amusing. Jane, quit the act. What are you doing? The teacher's voice came from outside. Stella reluctantly pulled back her hand. That evening, rumors about me spread. People said Jane, the top senior, threw away her morals for money, with slipping grades to boot. My indecent photos circulated in school. Even the head came up to me. Jane, are these your pictures? I firmly shook my head. No, they're not mine. He nodded. I believe you. If you need a break during this time, I'll approve some leave. No need, thanks, teacher. The college entrance exam is coming, and I'll do my best to catch up on my studies. I actually messed up that test on purpose. I already estimated my score based on the correct answers. I could have easily been the top of the grade. If I answered normally, I would have made it into the city's top 10 ranking. The next day, things took a wild turn. A few of my classmates sitting nearby came over to me and asked, Jane, did you see those censored photos? I knew what they were talking about. I nodded, unfazed. That's not me, someone's spreading rumors. Yeah, it's clearly not you. The uncensored photos show it's Stella. What? My eyes widened in shock. Stella hadn't shown up to class. And it wasn't until evening that she stormed in with messy hair and red eyes. Jane! I'm gonna kill you, you bitch. She tried to attack me, but the class president and a few guys held her back. You set me up, Jane. How could you do something so heartless? You're trying to ruin me. Ruin her? Ha, the photos were clearly sent out by Stella herself, telling Matt to post them. She wanted to ruin me. Stella frantically lashed out at the guys holding her. Why are you helping her? She did this to me. It's all ruined. My life is ruined because of her. Stella desperately pushed away the two guys in front of her. Grabbed a book and threw it at me. She pulled my hair hard, trying to hit me. I stopped just dodging and instead pinned her to the ground. We grappled, knocking over desks and chairs, startling quite a few classmates out of the room. Some people tried to separate us but failed. Suddenly, Stella pulled out a pair of scissors from her pocket, dragging me to the corner. It was in the blind spot of the other classmates. I thought she was going to attack me, but then she suddenly stabbed herself in the stomach. Blood immediately stained our clothes and splattered all over the walls and floor. I'm innocent. Jane, you tried to kill me? Things spiraled out of control beyond my imagination. To prove her innocence and frame me, she harmed herself? Everyone's gaze towards us was complicated. Stella was taken away by ambulance. I was taken away by the police. Stella accused me of slandering her and attempting to harm her. She became the victim, and I was painted as the bully. Oh my gosh. The gossip in the senior repeat class is intense. The top student sabotaged her best friend over a guy, spreading slander, and tried to kill her. No way, that girl might be depressed. Depression? I'd say she's just nuts. The school was buzzing with chatter. Stella can twist the truth. But she seems to forget that everything requires evidence. After my rebirth, I paid a lot for a camera disguised as a brooch. This brooch looks quite ordinary, like a button on a pocket. So I usually hang it on my chest pocket. I recorded evidence of Stella's threats, her abuse, her coercing me to pass her answers during exams. Even the scenes at Candy KTV that day were recorded. The footage of our fight and her harming herself with scissors was crystal clear. After giving my statement, I went home with my parents. Once home, I casually sent those video files to Jack. If I guessed right, Jack was probably at the hospital with Stella by then. The next day, the police released the investigation report. Jack flew abroad without waiting for the college entrance exams. The loan company led by Matt got busted. Stella lay in her hospital bed, awaiting trial once she recovered. When Stella's mom showed up at my doorstep, she looked utterly haggard. She knelt down, begging me to write a letter of forgiveness for Stella. Please, I apologize on her behalf. I refused her plea. In my previous life, my mom knelt like that to ask for justice for me. But Stella's mom turned her away. My mom was cyberbullied to death trying to clear my name. Could I forgive Stella? No, I couldn't. A few days ago, I bumped into Ken in the cafeteria. He was all alone, looking defeated. Turns out, Stella had dug into his background to break up with him and run back to Jack. She exposed Ken as a fake rich kid, claiming everything he wore was counterfeit. She even spread news about his family's social welfare status all over the school. Ken's image crumbled, and his friends abandoned him. As the chaos settled, I refocused on preparing for the college entrance exams. In several joint exams that followed, my grades steadily improved, and I reclaimed the top spot in the grade. On the day the college entrance exam scores were announced, my parents were ecstatic. I ranked first in the city's science division. During the freshman introduction at my dream university, I stood in the classroom. Hi everyone, I'm Jane. This is the life I'm meant to live.